The smell of roast chicken and distant, forced laughter clung to the air, thick and suffocating. It wasn't the comfortable warmth of family, but something brittle, stretched taut. My hands felt cold around the plastic cup, condensation slick against my fingers. Across the room, he was playing the part, charming my aunt, laughing a little too loud. His eyes, though, flicked towards me, then towards Lily, then darted away. A nervous tick pulled at the corner of his mouth. Lily sat on the rug, tracing patterns in the worn fibers, quiet for her age, her lower lip pushed out just a fraction. She wasn't looking at him. She wasn't looking at anyone. She was just waiting. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird in a cage. The air in the room seemed to thicken, pressing down. Every smile felt like a lie, every polite question a trap. The moment hung, heavy and silent, right before the world tilted. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is when you hear this. If this story resonates, if you've ever faced a moment where you knew the truth was about to break everything apart, tell me in the comments. I read all of them. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It truly helps me bring more of these stories to life. Before the tight knot in my stomach, before the smell of dread mixed with Sunday dinner, there was just us. Normal, or what we pretended was normal. Lily was everything. 5 years old, a wildfire of curls and questions, a laugh that could genuinely chase shadows from a room. Her 5th birthday was coming, a milestone. Not just any birthday, but the birthday, the one we'd been planning for years, saving for. It wasn't about spoiling her. It was about giving her something stable, something magical, something that was purely hers. A landmark of joy we built together, brick by tiny brick. We had a system. A big, clear glass jar sat on the kitchen counter, right by the coffee maker. Every bit of spare change, every dollar bill we could possibly scrape together, went in there. It started small, coins clinking against the glass bottom. Then dollars folded neatly. Then 20s, tucked away with purpose. This wasn't just money. It was tangible hope. It was late nights calculating how much we could spare, skipping little things for ourselves to add to the growing pile. It was Lily's face, pressed against the glass, watching the money grow, her eyes wide with the possibilities. A bouncy castle. A real-life pony ride. Enough cake for everyone she knew. We'd talk about it at dinner, laying out the plans, her imagination running wild, mine fueled by the fierce desire to give her that one perfect day. Her father, Mark. He had his charms. Oh, he could light up a room, tell a good story, make you feel like you were the most important person in the world when he wanted to. He had a way of making grand promises, painting vivid pictures of the future. He was good at the idea of things. The idea of a perfect family, the idea of financial security, the idea of being the hero dad. He'd put money in the jar too sometimes. A flourish, a theatrical dropping of bills, a wink at Lily. He'd talk about the party, the biggest, best party ever. He was part of the dream. Or so I thought. Beneath the surface, though, there were cracks. Little things at first. A bill forgotten. A sudden, unexplainable need for cash. A story that didn't quite add up. He had a restlessness, a way of avoiding direct answers when it came to money. I told myself it was stress, the pressure of work, the weight of being a provider. I made excuses, built walls around the uncomfortable feeling in my gut. I wanted to believe in the dream, in him, as much as Lily did. The birthday money jar felt like a symbol of our stability, our commitment to our daughter, a physical representation of our shared future, literally growing on the counter. It felt safe. It felt sacred. Lily's birthday was 3 weeks away. The jar was full. Hefty. It felt heavy to lift, dense with months, years of saving. We were close. We'd counted it together just days before, a little ceremony. Lily carefully pulling out the bills, me stacking them, Mark supervising with a proud smile, tallying the final number. It was enough. More than enough. We could get the bouncy castle, the pony ride, the special cake. Lily's eyes had sparkled brighter than I'd ever seen them. She'd hugged the jar like it was a treasure chest, promising to keep it safe. I remember placing it back on the counter, feeling a quiet satisfaction. We did this. We actually did it. For her. The morning I discovered it was a Tuesday. Mundane. The smell of burnt toast hung in the air from Mark's rushed breakfast. He'd already left for work, something about an early meeting. Lily was at school. The house was quiet. I went to make coffee, my gaze landing on the counter, on the spot where the heavy glass jar always Saturday. It wasn't there. My first thought was that I'd moved it. Maybe cleared the counter for cleaning? I checked the nearby shelves, the cupboards. Nothing. A faint unease prickled at the back of my neck. Then I saw it. The jar was on the draining board by the sink. Empty. Cleaned out. Not a single coin left at the bottom. Just the faint scent of glass cleaner. My blood ran cold. My hands started to tremble. This wasn't possible. Where could it go? Who would take it? We didn't have break-ins. The doors were locked. It had been full just 2 days ago. Mark. The thought slammed into me with the force of a physical blow. Mark. He was the only other person in the house. He was the one who needed money sometimes, unexpectedly. No. He wouldn't. Not this. Not Lily's money. Not the birthday money. I called him. My voice was shaking, tight with a panic I tried desperately to hide. Hey, I managed, trying to sound casual. Did you move the birthday money jar? A beat of silence on the other end. Then his voice, a little too smooth, a little too cheerful. Oh yeah. Needed some cash for, supplies for work. Unexpected thing came up. I'll put it back later. My stomach dropped. Supplies for work? Since when did his job require thousands in cash now? The amount in that jar wasn't pocket change. It was substantial. Enough for a party. Supplies? I repeated, the casual facade crumbling. Mark, that was Lily's birthday money. All of it. His tone shifted instantly. It hardened. Don't make a big deal out of this. I said I'll put it back. It's just temporary. Temporary? My voice rose despite myself. Her birthday is in 3 weeks. How is taking all of it temporary? I said I'll handle it, he snapped, the charming mask falling away completely. Stop being dramatic. I'm busse. The line went dead. I stood in the silent kitchen, the empty jar gleaming accusingly on the draining board, the dial tone buzzing in my ear. He'd taken it. He'd actually taken it. Not just a little for an emergency, but all of it. The weight of the betrayal hit me, heavy and nauseating. It wasn't just the money. It was the destruction of the dream, the breaking of the promise, the casual disregard for Lily's joy and our shared effort. It felt like he had reached into the jar, pulled out every bill, and then set fire to everything we had built together. The next few days were a blur of tension and disbelief. I tried to talk to him again. He became defensive, elusive. He'd arrive home late, smelling faintly of desperation and something I couldn't place. Every conversation circled back to the money, and every time he deflected, got angry, or promised vaguely that it would be fine, he was working on it. I just needed it for a crucial investment, he'd say, puffing out his chest. Something big for our future. You'll see. This will make us all comfortable. But his eyes wouldn't meet mine, and the details were always fuzzy. What investment? Where? How much? He'd just wave a hand, dismiss my questions as nagging, tell me I didn't understand business. It felt less like an investment and more like a hole he was trying to fill, digging himself deeper in the process. Meanwhile, Lily kept talking about the party. Is the bouncy castle booked yet, Mommy? She'd ask, her face alight with anticipation. Can we send the invitation soon? I want to invite Ethan and Sophia. Each question was a stab to my heart. How could I tell her? How could I explain that her father, the man who was supposed to protect her, had taken the very thing that represented her dream? I mumbled vague answers, told her we were still finalizing details, that invitations would go out soon. The lies tasted like ash. I started looking for clues. I went through his pockets when he was asleep. Bills, receipts. Nothing that screamed investment, just gas station receipts, coffee cups, parking tickets. Small, everyday things. The money wasn't there. I checked his bank account online, the one I had access to for household expenses. A large withdrawal, labeled only as transfer. Transfer where? He wouldn't tell me. He grew more erratic. One moment, he was apologetic, promising the moon. The next, he was cold, distant, accusing me of being too focused on money, of not trusting him. He acted as if I were the problem, as if my concern for Lily's stolen dream was somehow selfish or materialistic. The birthday was getting closer. 2 weeks. 1 week. The window for booking a bouncy castle, for sending invitations, for ordering a custom cake, was closing rapidly. The reality was stark and unavoidable. The party wasn't happening. Not the party we'd promised her, the party we'd saved for. The money was gone. And he wasn't putting it back. He doubled down on his lies. The investment is paying off slower than expected, he'd mutter, avoiding my gaze. We might have to scale back the party. Just a small family thing. It'll be fine. A small family thing. For a child who had watched a jar fill with coins and bills, who had dreamed of a bouncy castle and pony rides with her friends, a small family thing was a crushing disappointment. It wasn't just about the material things, it was about the expectation, the build-up, the promise. He had stolen her joy, wrapped it in his deceit, and now offered this meager substitute, expecting me to make it palatable for her. I looked at Lily's hopeful face, her crayon drawings of imaginary parties taped to the fridge, her innocent questions about her friends coming over. My heart ached with a fierce, protective love. She deserved better. She deserved the truth, gently delivered, but she deserved it more than he deserved my silence. I started to see him differently. The charm wasn't charisma, it was a performance. The grand promises weren't ambition, they were fantasy built on shaky ground. The need for money wasn't for supplies or investments, it was something else, something he was desperate to hide. The little cracks I had ignored for years suddenly became chasms, revealing a foundation built on sand and secrets. The shift happened gradually, like tectonic plates grinding against each other before the earthquake. I stopped asking about the money. I stopped pleading with him, trying to make him understand the magnitude of what he had done to Lily. A cold anger settled in my chest, replacing the pain and confusion. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the disrespect, the betrayal, the sheer cruelty of stealing from his own child's dream. I started to gather information, not just about the money, but about him. I checked his phone when he left it charging, found messages, not about investments, messages about debts, gambling debts, large ones, and messages from someone else. Someone named Jessica. Flirtatious, suggestive, plans to meet up, dinner dates, drinks. The pieces clicked into place with sickening precision. The unexpected need for cash, the late nights, the vagueness, the guilt, the anger. It wasn't an investment for our future. It was feeding his vices, living a double life, spending Lily's future on himself and someone else. The discovery didn't shatter me. It hardened me. A cold, quiet resolve set in. For years, I had tried to be the supportive wife, the one who smoothed things over, who believed in the best, who made excuses. No more. He hadn't just taken the money. He had taken my trust, my hope, my vision of our family. He had shown me exactly who he was, and it wasn't the man I thought I married. My strategy changed. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't even demand the money back. That battle felt small now. This was about something bigger. This was about truth. This was about protecting Lily, not just from the disappointment of a canceled party, but from the corrosive effect of his deceit. I would not cover for him. Not anymore. The lie had become his problem, and he could deal with the consequences. The family gathering was planned for the Sunday before Lily's birthday. Ostensibly, it was a pre-birthday celebration, a way to still acknowledge the milestone without the fanfare of the promised party. Mark had insisted on it. "We have to do something," he'd said, putting on a show of being the concerned father. I knew he just wanted to get it over with, to present a facade of normalcy, To make sure everyone saw that everything was fine, he probably expected me to quietly tell the family the party was canceled due to unforeseen circumstances, perhaps vaguely hinting at a minor financial setback we were handling together. He expected me to protect his image. The days leading up to the gathering were tense. Mark was jumpy, overly cheerful one moment, snapping the next. He talked about the family coming, the food, the small gift he'd bought Lily, probably on a credit card, adding to the debt. He didn't mention the birthday money. He didn't mention the canceled bouncy castle, the uninvited friends, the broken promise. He acted as if this small family gathering was the plan all along. Lily was quieter than usual. She asked once timidly, "Is my bouncy castle coming to Grandma's house?" My heart twisted. I knelt down, looked her in the eye. "No, sweetie," I said softly. "Not this year." Her face fell. The light went out of her eyes. It was like watching a tiny star wink out. "Why not?" she whispered, her voice trembling. This was the moment. The moment I could lie, make an excuse, blame the weather, blame logistics. Or I could tell her the truth, as gently as possible, and let her understand. The cold resolve kicked in again. She deserved to know, not to be protected from reality, but to understand that sometimes people she loved made mistakes. Big ones. Because I started choosing my words carefully. The money we saved for it, it's not there anymore. She looked confused. But we put it in the jar? It was full. It was, I agreed. But Daddy needed it for something else. Her brow furrowed. He took it? Yes, sweetie, he did. She processed this for a moment. Her lips started to tremble. But that was my party money. I know, baby, I said, pulling her into a hug. I held her tight, feeling her small body shake with silent tears. This hurt me more than anything he had done to me. Seeing her little heart break over this betrayal was a physical pain. After she cried it out, she pulled back, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. She looked up at me, her expression shifting from sadness to a quiet, steady understanding that was beyond her years. So, no party. Not the big one we planned, I confirmed gently. We'll still have cake with Grandma and Grandpa, and everyone. And we'll figure out something else, just us. A special day. She nodded slowly, absorbing it. She didn't seem angry, just disappointed. And maybe a little confused about why her dad would do that. I didn't elaborate on the gambling or Jessica. That was too much for her. But she knew the core truth. Her dad took her money, and that's why her party was gone. The day of the gathering arrived. The house filled with the usual Sunday buzz, chatter, laughter, the clinking of plates. My parents, Mark's parents, my sister, and her husband, his brother. They all knew about Lily's upcoming birthday, about the big party we were planning. They'd asked about it, seen the jar over the months, heard us talk about the bouncy castle. Mark was in fine form, circulating, laughing, making small talk. He looked relieved, like he dodged a bullet. He probably thought I'd handled it, smoothed things over, blamed the economy or some vague, unexpected expense. He gave me a tight, almost smug smile across the room. He had no idea. Lily was quiet but composed. She wasn't her usual boisterous self. She clung a little closer to me, her eyes darting towards her father now and then, a flicker of something I couldn't quite read in their depths. Dinner was served. The noise level dropped slightly as everyone focused on their plates. Mark started talking about his work, a big project he was supposedly landing, another lie, I was sure. He was steering the conversation, controlling the narrative, making sure no awkward pauses emerged. He was trying to present the perfect picture. Then my mother, kind and oblivious, turned to Lily, who was sitting between me and Mark. "So, Lilybug," she said cheerfully, "are you excited about your big birthday party next week? Is the bouncy castle arriving early?" The table quieted. Everyone looked at Lily, smiling expectantly. Mark froze mid-sentence. His eyes widened, darting from his mother to Lily, then to me. The color drained from his face. He hadn't anticipated this question, not in front of everyone, not directed at Lily. He probably expected me to jump in, to say something vague about plans changing. But I didn't. I just ate my roast chicken, watching Lily. This was her moment. Her truth. Lily looked at my mother. Her voice was small but clear, carrying easily in the sudden silence. "No," she said, shaking her head. "My party is cancelled." A collective murmur went around the table. Concerned faces turned towards me. My sister raised an eyebrow. Mark's parents looked confused. "Cancelled?" my father asked, frowning. "Oh, sweetie, why?" Lily looked down at her plate for a moment, then back up. She glanced at her father, then at me. I gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod. It wasn't encouragement to lie or perform, but permission to simply state the fact as she understood it. She took a deep breath, the small chest expanding. Then, looking directly at my father, she said, her voice still quiet, but carrying the weight of simple, undeniable truth, "Because Daddy took my money." The silence that followed was deafening. It wasn't just a lack of noise, it was a heavy, shocked vacuum, sucking the air out of the room. Forks clattered onto plates. Mouths hung open. Every eye was on Lily, then swinging towards Mark. Mark's face went from pale to a furious crimson in an instant. His eyes bulged. He stared at Lily as if she had just sprouted another head. His jaw worked, but no sound came out at first. He was completely blindsided. He had expected me to lie for him, to protect him. He had never in a million years anticipated his own daughter, in front of his entire family, stating the unvarnished truth so plainly. Then the sound came. A choked, guttural noise, somewhere between a gasp and a roar. He slammed his fist on the table, making the dishes jump. "What?" he screamed, his voice raw and panicked. "What are you talking about?" Lily flinched, recoiling into my side. My mother gasped. Mark's mother made a distressed sound. "You did, Daddy," Lily said, her voice trembling now, scared by his reaction. "You took the money from the jar," Mommy said. "I told you I needed it temporarily," Mark shrieked, turning his furious gaze on me. His performance was over. He wasn't charming Mark anymore. He was cornered, exposed, desperate. It was for an important reason. "She's lying. She's twisting things." "Twisting what, Mark?" my sister's husband asked, his voice quiet but firm. Did you not take the money saved for her birthday party?" Mark sputtered, looking around the table at the faces staring at him, a mix of shock, confusion, and dawning disapproval. He had nowhere to hide. His control had vanished. He pointed a shaking finger at me. "She's manipulating her. She's making her say this." "It's not true." "It is true, Mark," I said, my voice steady and calm, a stark contrast to his hysteria. I looked him dead in the eye. "You took the money. All of it. From Lily's birthday jar. And you didn't put it back." "For an investment," he roared, standing up abruptly, knocking his chair back. It crashed to the floor. "A vital investment. To secure our future. You just don't understand." "An investment in what, Mark?" my father asked, his voice laced with suspicion. "Thousands of dollars? In cash." Mark stammered, looking wildly around. He knew he was trapped. He had no plausible explanation, not one that would justify taking his daughter's party fund. The facade had shattered, revealing the desperate, deceitful man underneath. "It's not her fault," I added softly, pulling Lily closer. "She's just telling the truth. The party was cancelled because the money is gone. Because you took it." He let out another strangled cry of frustration and rage. He kicked the fallen chair. "This is unbelievable," he yelled, pointing at me again. "You would do this? Humiliate me in front of my family?" "You did this, Mark," I said. "Not me. Not Lily. You took the money. You broke the promise." He couldn't stand it. The weight of the exposure, the judgment in everyone's eyes, the simple, undeniable truth spoken by his own daughter. He grabbed his keys from the table, knocking over a glass of water. "I can't believe this," he muttered, his voice trembling with fury and something that sounded like shame, though I couldn't be sure. "I am leaving. I am not staying here for this setup." He stormed out of the dining room, his footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent house. A moment later, the front door slammed shut, the sound reverberating through the room like a gunshot. The family stared at the empty doorway, then at each other, then at me and Lily. The tension began to dissipate, replaced by a heavy, awkward silence. My mother rushed over, kneeling by Lily, pulling her into a hug. "Oh, sweetie," she murmured. Mark's mother looked devastated, her hand covering her mouth. My father looked furious. What happened?" Mark's brother finally asked, his voice hushed. I didn't need to explain everything. Lily's simple statement had been enough. The proof was in Mark's reaction, his panic denial, his explosive exit. "He took the money Lily saved for her birthday party," I repeated calmly, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me now that the confrontation was over. "He needed it. For something he wouldn't explain. It's gone." My sister came over, putting a comforting arm around my shoulder. "We're so sorry," she whispered. There was a quiet murmuring, words of comfort, condemnation for Mark. My focus was on Lily. She was still tearful, but no longer shaking. She seemed a lighter. The secret was out. The truth, in her small voice, had finally been heard. The rest of the gathering was subdued. Mark's parents were clearly upset, apologizing quietly to me, looking ashamed. Mine were supportive, offering help. The roast chicken sat cooling on the plates, forgotten. The planned pre-birthday celebration had turned into an impromptu intervention, an undeniable exposure. Later, after everyone had left, the house felt cavernous and empty. The silence was different now. Not tense, but quiet, heavy with the weight of what had happened. Lily was curled up on the sofa, watching a cartoon, but her eyes were distant. I sat beside her, pulling her close. "Are you okay, Bug?" She nodded slowly. "Why did Daddy get so angry?" "Because he was scared," I explained gently. "Scared that everyone knew what he did." She was quiet again, processing this. "But he shouldn't have taken it." "No, he shouldn't have," I agreed, stroking her hair. "That money was yours. You worked hard to save it, and we promised you it was for your party." He broke that promise. It felt important that she understood it wasn't her fault, that her feelings of disappointment were valid, and that his actions were wrong. Not vague mistakes, but wrong. A part of me felt a sense of grim satisfaction. He was exposed. He had faced the consequences of his deceit, delivered by the purest source imaginable, the child he had betrayed. He thought he could steal her joy and get away with it, or at least control how the bad news was delivered. He thought I would protect him, clean up his mess, present a united front built on lies. He was blindsided by the simple power of truth, spoken without malice or agenda, just the plain fact of what happened. But the satisfaction was cold, tinged with sadness. This wasn't a clean victory. It was a demolition. Our life, our family unit, lay in ruins around us. The dream of the perfect birthday party was gone, replaced by the stark reality of a father who stole from his daughter. In the days and weeks that followed, the dust began to settle, but the landscape was forever changed. Mark didn't come back. He sent texts, increasingly desperate and angry messages, blaming me, blaming the family, never taking responsibility. The messages about Jessica and his debts confirmed the rest of the story. I changed the locks. It was over. Lily's actual birthday was quiet. Just us. We had cake, opened the small gifts, watched movies. It wasn't the bouncy castle extravaganza, but we made it special in a different way. It was calm, safe, real. We talked about the money sometimes and what it meant. It wasn't just cash. It was effort, trust, a promise. And promises, once broken, were hard to mend. Lily, in her 5-year-old wisdom, seemed to grasp this on a fundamental level. She didn't hate her father, but the simple, unwavering trust she'd had in him was gone, replaced by that quiet understanding, that knowing that sometimes even people you love let you down. The empty jar stayed on the counter for a while, a silent monument to a broken promise and a shattered illusion. Eventually, I put it away. We started a new savings plan, just me and Lily, for something else. a trip, maybe somewhere far away. Something we would build together, just us, on a foundation of honesty and quiet resilience. The path forward was uncertain, filled with the practical challenges of a single parent and the emotional scars left by betrayal. But there was also a sense of freedom. The constant performance was over. The secrets were out. The air, once thick with lies, felt thinner, easier to breathe. I didn't have the birthday money, but I had the truth. And in that moment, standing there in the aftermath of the storm Mark had unleashed, that felt like a far more valuable currency. Lily had her truth back too, and the simple courage she showed that day, speaking it in the face of his panic, was worth more than any bouncy castle could ever be. We had lost a dream, but we had found our voices. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever felt the ground shift beneath your feet when a truth you knew in your gut finally erupted, I'd love to hear your version. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. Thanks for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these stories to life.